Okay, so we've been talking about a lot of things. Primarily, we've been talking about preparing ourselves to help others. We've touched on the seven mitzvahs in their, just their basic, the basic seven mitzvahs. Touched on them basically. Today we're going to get a little bit more into a prerequisite for the first of the mitzvahs. We're going to actually talk about it a little bit. But even so, we're still in all of this. If we are or la'amim or legoyim, it says literally in the pasuk in Yeshayahu, we need to prepare ourselves, because if we are to be a light, we need to know how to shine, right? We have to know how and where to shine and when and some techniques and. Shine, right. Shine. That's another version of the word. You have to shine, reflect, be bright, right?
They have to be, but with proud, not as a bad thing. You have to do it at night so you shine. So
right, right. My father used to say that you could have $1,000 suit on. This is kind of off topic, but you could say you have $1,000 suit on, but if your shoes are scuffed, you've ruined the whole. You have to have shiny polished shoes. Yeah. I went to a doctor one time, and he says, "I've never seen some. I know your characters just by looking at your shoes. I know who you are." He said, and so it's really true. You look at someone's shoes, you know a little bit about them. I don't know. Off topic. So am I. They're falling apart right now. Okay, it's time for new shoes, Russell. All right. So we've been talking about this tapestry that we're building that kind of surrounds the goal, which is B'nai Noach, serving God, not as idolaters, serving God, the one God, the true God, according to Torah and mitzvahs, through Torah and mitzvahs, the Torah that God gave to Moshe, Rabbeinu, our teacher, at Har Sinai, and all the people heard the voice of God. Through this amat, through this channel, they find emes. Because I'll just repeat that the word amat, with patach is with the letter with the oisies aleph mem tov. That's the same letters for emes. Emes is aleph mem tov. If you pronounce it amat, it means a channel, a groove or a vessel for which something can flow. And emes means truth. So we've been talking about how do we find this amat for emes? How do we prepare ourselves to prepare others to get in this groove to really grab the truth, hold on to it in the proper way. So who do we say was a typical example of that? Ruth. The prototypical example of the proper approach through this amat, through this channel, is the Geras Ruth. She is the quintessential example of how a non-Jew comes to become Jewish, how a spark becomes fully lit, how it becomes a fully the spark of the Jewish soul becomes a fully Jewish soul, is the root. But not only that, it's an example of all people, how they want to draw close to God. They could come through the same channel. They might not go all the way like Rus did to become a Ger Tzedek, a Ger Tzedekis, in this Geras Tzedekis, I guess you would say. Georis, right. But they would become what's called Ger Toshev, a person who settles in the land of Israel, keeps the seven mitzvahs B'nai Noach, has rejected idolatry, and is following Torah and mitzvahs that God commanded to them in the Torah. Like we also said, what we're trying to do is we're trying to separate this. We have this divide, them and us. We're trying to bring it all together, because Rambam says specifically that there can only be one religion. No human being on the earth should be making other religions. There's only one religion, which we call today Judaism. And everyone who is worshiping God properly is worshiping in this religion called Judaism. Now the non-Jews who are B'nai Noach are doing it according to their mitzvahs and their commandments. And we are doing it according to our mitzvahs and our commandments, but it's all one single religion. So what we said that Ruth did that was groundbreaking and that showed the truth of this amat, this path, is she didn't say, God shall be my God. Remember we went through that story of, I want to build a rocket ship. Were you there when I told about the rocket ship? I'm going to build a rocket ship. I'm going to go to the moon. I want to go to the moon. So the focus was on the moon, right? So he didn't think about anything going to the moon. He went to his garage and he put together, he got maybe one of those big bottles of acetylene or something, right? Strapped it to his back. like in the cartoons. Turn it on, light a match. And he didn't make it, right? He didn't make it. He thought, whoa, I want the moon. I need the moon. I need to get to the moon, but I didn't make it on my own. What can I do? Maybe I'll get some books about it. I'll buy some books and I'll read the books about it, or the book about it, right? He reads the book and, he just gets a few things out of it. Instead of strapping into it back, this time he straps it to his car. Doesn't go very far. He says, oh, what am I going to do? I really want to go to the moon. I can't understand the book on my own. Let me see. I'll just go to those guys, that NASA building, and because they launch from NASA, I'll go to the NASA building, and I'll launch my rocket from the NASA building. Because NASA's gone to the moon, so I'll do that. But it doesn't work. What does he have to do? Finally, he says, I need the engineers. I need the people. I need the engineers. I need the engineer. I need the engineer. Engineer. And one of the best human beings on the earth.
Oh, thank you.
And it's the truth.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
That's not flattering, my friend. Not at all. So they need the engineers, they need the people, and that's what Ruth said. She didn't say, God shall be my God. She said, your people shall be my people. Your God shall be my God. That's the path. So why is it? We're going to touch today on in a little more depth. So what verifies, what makes the Torah, what gives it veracity? What gives it truth? What makes it truth? Why do we say that our Torah is the truth and the only truth? What proof do we have of that? What evidence do we have? Why? What can we say supports that idea? So first of all, why do we say the people? Why through the people? Well, one of the absolute truths that support the Torah as being from God and being from God and through Moshe Rabbeinu is not that Moshe worked miracles and we have this story of Moshe we have written down. It's not that we have a book that is written down about these stories and that it talks about Moshe Rabbeinu as being the great prophet. And he did work miracles, but it has nothing to do with the miracles. It has nothing to do with the fact that we've kept it so long in a written form. What it has to do with is that the people, the Jewish people, all together as one people, heard the voice of God speak to Moshe Rabbeinu. All of them together. It wasn't like on the Sitra Achra, there's a story about in Christianity, in Lahavdil, that JC there is standing on a mountain, and it says that there was a great voice, right? And he heard a baskol, what we call a baskol, a voice from heaven. But if you look at the text closely, it says that only he and his cousin Yochanan heard the voice. All the other people heard a rumble.
That was like Muhammad.
The same type of thing, right?
Same thing.
Now, what we're talking about here, and that part is a very big part of the religion, of establishing the religion, as emes, right? But me and my cousin, we heard it. What's that? And all the, what?
Come on, Yoni.
Come on, Yaini. Come on, Yaini. Yaini, look, cloudy today. A little bit of thunder, that's our cue. Right? Could it not happen?
Moshe were having in trouble, right?
What?
Moshe were having in big trouble with Korah.
Oh, man. Wouldn't he? But there was a lot of thunder and lightning on the mountain when Moshe heard it too. But Moshe wasn't the only one that heard it. All the people heard. Why do you think to this day we will, as a group of people, keep all of these mitzvahs? You know, if people that want to make a religion and make something up, they don't make it hard on themselves. They don't say, I gotta not eat this, I gotta not eat that, I gotta abstain from this, I can't do that, I have to make sure I'm not putting my eyes there, I can't do this in my house, I can't do this outside. All of these restrictions, is that what people do when they want to no. As a matter of fact, if you look at Sitra Achra, taking all the restrictions away, right, on the other side, right? Take you know, you're free now, just try to be a good person, right? Okay, that's not how it works. This is proof that we, as a people, were given something by God himself. And it's remained in our spiritual DNA, possibly even the physical DNA. Okay? It's stuck. So all of the people heard, and what did they hear? They heard God say, this is out of the Sefer that we're learning from. We're really making a lot of progress here. No, just if you want to go ahead and, well, I've been opening it, but if you guys want to get the Sefer, you might enjoy it. It's very powerful. So this is what Rabbi Weiner says. He says, with their own eyes they saw, with their own ears they heard, as the divine voice spoke to them. And also they heard God saying concerning Moshe, Moshe, go tell them this and that. They heard this. They heard God speaking to Moshe. Now, there are times we read in Talmud and places that there were times when the people weren't at a level high enough where they can actually hear the voice. They just knew that Moshe was hearing the voice. At this point, all of us standing, even our souls were standing there at Har Sinai, hearing this koil. It wasn't a bas koil. This is the voice from God. We're standing there, and what is at a very, very, very high level of prophecy, just under Moshe, just can see into Berea, can see into the highest levels. So it says here, they did not, this is what I just said, they did not receive the occurrence of that event except as if some claim by tradition of an individual, but they experienced it themselves. The public revelation therefore authenticated a bona fide status of Moshe as a prophet of God and the divine origins of the instructions recorded in the Torah. That and that alone is the criterion for the belief and acceptance of Moshe and his teachings. God said to him, I will come to you in a thick cloud, and the people may hear when I speak to you. They will hear when I speak to you, and will also believe in you forever. And we have that in our davening every day. We have that part in our davening. They will believe in me and believe in you forever. Okay. So this is what establishes the Torah itself as what contains. See, what the Torah is, it's not just a book, it's not a book of history. A lot of people call it a divine code. It explains, there's so infinite amount of levels of interpretation and understanding. It's not a history book. It's some would say it's not even a book of law. It is the essence of all creation in a written form. It is the rabbis say that God and the Torah and Israel are one. There's this divinity about it, about the Torah. Okay, so all the people heard. It wasn't about miracles. It wasn't about anything else except our testimony that we carry with us to this very day and became a nation. Okay, so what about the Torah itself? Okay, what about the Torah itself? This is a tikkun, and a tikkun is what people who lay in the Torah use to prepare. Now, if you notice here, on this side, can you all see that? Can you all see that here? On this side, there's the oisios, which are the letters. There's the trop, which tells the chanter what tune to make. And there's also the nekudos, the little symbols under the letters that tell us how to pronounce the word. Right. The vowelization, the nekudos. You see that inside? Now, look at this middle column. This middle column, what's missing?
Everything.
This is how it is in that Torah scroll that we have in the Aron over there. There are no nekudos, there are no trop. Look closely. This is, if you were to look at a Torah scroll, this is how you would see it. See that? So, let me ask you. Who should I ask? I'll pick on Rachel. Rachel. What is that letter? The middle one. It's an olive. How do you know that's an olive? How do you know that's an olive?
Because that looks like an olive, and if it looks like an olive, it must be an olive.
It must be an olive.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question, all of you. Where in the written Torah does it tell us what an olive is? Explain to us what an olive is. In the written Torah, in the 5 books of Moshe, where does it tell us what an olive is? It does not. It does not. Nowhere in the written Torah does it tell you this is an olive, and this is how the sound it makes, or this is the sound it doesn't make in the case of the olive, right? How about on this side? What is this? What is this nikuda right here under the shin? Right. Or just how is it pronounced? No. That's o. It's a komatz. It's komatz. Okay. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Which one is what nakuda is that one under the shin?
Just show me one.
Under the shin. The one under the shin.
Komatz.
It's komatz, right. Okay. Now, where in the written Torah does that tell us that's komatz? Where in the written Torah does it say how to pronounce that sound? What sound is it? O, I, A, U, A, A, like an iron? Literally, iron. No, I pronounce my irons. Where does it say? This is how you. Where does it say? Beged. There's 10 letters that all have a double sound. Beged kaparat. That's the mnemonic. There's 10 letters that if you put a dagesh in it, it sounds different than when it doesn't have one. Beged, there's a ba and a va, right? With a dagesh in it, it says ba. Without the dagesh, it says va. Right? A gimel with the dalet is ga. Without it is ra. Like the Israelis say the resh they say the resh inaccurately, like they say buacha. Okay, I won't open that door. But that's how we should actually pronounce the gimel, but we don't. Okay? Where in the written Torah does that tell us all of this stuff? You guys know where I'm going with this, right?
No, I don't.
We're still stuck to the people. We're still talking about the people.
You're talking about the letters, and
Yeah.
I don't have any clue the same words in the Torah.
So how do we
I
know?
went to school and I learned.
And you learned.
Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav.
Right. So there's a
Vowels.
story. Very nice. Very nice. You just cued me for a story. There's a story that a non-Jew wanted to convert, and he went to Hillel, the elder, and he says, I want to learn Torah, but I only want to learn the written Torah, not the Torah Sheb'al Peh, the oral Torah that contains all of this knowledge that I've been telling you. What an aleph is, how to pronounce a letter. It's in what we call the Torah Sheb'al Peh, the oral Torah that is alongside the written Torah. That we know how to. We'll get some more examples. Yes, ma'am?
I'm lost
Okay.
because the oral is speech, and the one that's written is written.
That's right.
It's Bektav.
It's Biktav. That's right. It's written down. But where in the Biktav does it say how to pronounce an aleph, or what an aleph is, or how to pronounce, or what these words mean? You see, where in the
So
written
you're
Torah?
talking about paralleling it to in the Torah.
I'm trying to say, why do we need the people of God to tell us how this book works,
I see.
what this book means?
Verbally.
Or nowadays we take it for granted because all of this stuff is written down. How to pronounce? It's right here. It's in the center.
It's like a recipe and instructions.
Yes, it's instructions. We have it all written down now. You know, you can go pick up a sitter, and with a teacher, a little help. Aleph bet vet, Aleph bet vet, Gimel Dalet Hey. You see, we have it now written down. We take it for granted. At one time, it was not written down. It was all in the minds and the hearts of the sages and the lamdim, the teachers, and they would sit kids down and they'd say patach a, patach be,
How far
ba.
back? How far back are you going?
So things really began to be written down. The oral tradition began to be written down it was by Yehuda Hanasi, what they call Rebbe, the Rebbe in the Talmud. He codified it, and because they knew that if they didn't write the oral tradition down,
This
it would
is
be
how
lost.
far back?
It goes back to 100 years after the Korban. So the Korban was 70 of the Common Era. It's about 100 years after the Common Era, written down, approximately.
After what?
The Common Era. So 0 goes back. So
Got it.
yeah,
After the.
yeah, right.
So
I
I think
see.
what you're getting into
So-
is that somebody can, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry. I don't
No,
know.
please jump in.
That somebody can take the Torah and said, oh, I got the book.
Exactly, and I know what it means. So what is the point that I'm trying to make? The point I'm trying to make is, how do you pronounce this word in the very beginning? All of that you're talking about is important things, but it doesn't really apply to the point I'm trying to make. This first word here, we take it for granted. We say bereshis, right? We know how it's pronounced. We can translate it. What does it mean?
In the beginning.
In English, we know it's in the beginning. What I'm trying to say is it's only because of the oral Torah that we understand what the word means that could even be translated into another language. People that carry around an English Bible, they have no idea that the only reason we have that is because we, the people of God, have maintained and preserved the very meanings and understandings of not only the meanings of of the stories and what they mean, but all the way down to the very pronunciation of the letters and the meanings of the words themselves. That's why it's this through the people. We, the people, the Jewish people, preserve this through all these years. That's why I'm saying that someone who comes to learn, they have to understand why it is that we say that we have to come through this amat. Okay, so the Torah Shebaal Peh was carried by the people. All the translations, all the interpretations, everything is only because of us, the people of God, that have kept it and sustained it all these years. Okay? So one of the main ingredients that a person coming to know God will have to have is obviously an awareness that there's a divine being. And this is my point we'll be wrapping up shortly. They have to come to understand, first of all, that there's a divine being. Now, remember I had told you that people, we have to try to make it, to shine this light and be a light and be attractive. I think it's going to be very organic. You will talk to people, people will begin opening a conversation with you. They'll begin to realize that you have knowledge that they don't have, a spirit that's connected to godliness that they don't have. And it will be like an organic process where they'll begin to say, you know, I even if they're completely atheist, they will come to say, okay, I see what you're saying about this, that there's a divine being. But how did it happen? It happened organically through you and through you and through you, through us, this light to the nations. That's why this is a two-part process. It's not just about teaching us. Why do we need to know all the details of B'nai Noach and the 7 mitzvahs? Is it just for our knowledge? Well, we do have to learn. We have to learn Lishma. Obviously, we learn Lishma for its own sake. But it's so that it can be taught, it can be shined, it can be given to other people. So, a divine being. We have to be able to understand what it means that there's a divine being and who he is. What does it mean that there's a divine being? A being that is greater than us? Is there something outside of us that we say is greater than us? There's something out there that's bigger than us, right? We're not alone. That's a starting point. We're not alone in this process of figuring out what this world is all about. There's a divine being. Who is that divine being? What is his characteristics? What does it mean? Well, first of all, we have to understand what it means, what God is, in a very basic understanding. What does it mean? We always say, God is what? God is one. Mm-hmm. One, absolutely one. Rabbi Noach Weinberg says, God is one, not two. One, not two. Mm. God has no body. Very important. Memorize this when you're talking to people, because some people believe God has a body, right? God is one, not two. He has no body. He has no parts. He is indivisible. There's no parts or organs or any separation in him at all. One, not two. No body. No parts. No divisions. No emotions. No emotions that we understand. We say God doesn't have love. God doesn't hate. God doesn't chastise, etc. and so forth. All these emotions we say, like the severest. God in his essence is completely one in a way we cannot understand. The way he relates to us, we understand love, and we understand awe, and we understand strictness, and we understand tiferes. We understand mercy and love. All these things we understand because he relates to us that way. But we have to be very strong in that God has no parts. He is indivisible. He is beyond anything that we can comprehend, period. What is this? How another way to explain this? God is infinite. Infinite. What does infinite mean? That means if you take one away from it, it's infinite. If you add one to it, it's infinite. There's no number. There's no conception. It goes on forever and ever. And if you relate to it as space, it goes on that way and that way and that way and up and down with no end. Ein Sof. There is no end to him. No beginning, no end. That's mind-boggling when you start to think about it. Also, God is not in space, and there is no concept of space or spirituality to God's essence. There's something beyond what we comprehend. God created spirituality. God created the physical world. They're creations. What does it mean, infinite? What it means, infinite, we say it in the davening, and we read it in the parsha, the phrase, Ein Od. There is nothing beside him. Ein Od. there's nothing beside him. What does it mean beside him? It means that everything, let me ask you a question. Okay, let me put it this way. If God was going to create a universe, okay, if God was going to create the universe, where would he put it? Any thoughts?
Whatever he wants. I mean, he is.
Powerful.
He's all powerful, right?
A
But-
little to the north.
A little to the north. It's very. But would he put it to the side of him? Would it put it like to the north, or would he put it to the south of him? See, if you say
No, he is. He can do it.
no, he's infinite. In other words, if you say God created something beside him, that I put it to the side, and God's over here and the creation's over there, you have created a duality. There's no longer infinity. You have one thing and you have another thing. You've created a duality.
Right, that you write a book. The book is there and you're here, right?
Right. That's you've created a division. Okay, you have two things.
Things
Now,
together and you-
if there are these two things, what are they in? They have to then be in something. So if you have God in the creation, what are they in? What space are they in? What is that space? That must be God. Right? You see how things start to get out of control. Where did God create the universe? In himself. There is nothing else. You look to the wall, it's a part of God. You're a part of God. You're a part of God. We're all in God. Like a fish swims in the water, we are in God. We are a part of God. Every electron that spins, he is intentionally spinning it. It's not like the laws of nature, they're not really, they're illusions of laws, like Hashem flicked a switch and now it runs. He spins every electron with his intent. Every single molecule in your body, he actually is creating it in every moment, in every essence, he's upholding it. If he were for 1 minute to take his will off of that, it would become nothing. It would become nothing and nothingness. It would be completely like we never existed. Our existence is only a part of God's existence. The true existence is God's existence. Now, so how did he do this? So the rabbis call this process of creation tzimtzumim, or contractions. The rabbi, I would get it and show it to you, but I have it. I'll tell you. The Rabbi Dov Ber, I think it was the third Chabad Rebbe, in Kuntras Hamayan, says that all creation, the creation of anything that God does, is an act of concealment. It's not like he made something, revealed something, shown something. It's an act of hiding. So when the first concealment God made, the contraction created a darkness. It's a darkness, but it's still so bright, we couldn't even imagine how bright this first darkness is. If you change the light even a little bit, it becomes dark. Okay? Then these contractions keep making, but what is he doing? He's just hiding the light in that space. Hiding the light, hiding the light. So you get down to this world of Asiya, everything you see is Hashem at that level of hiddenness. God at that level, you contracts and something appears. It contracts, something appears. It contracts, something appears. Hide the light, hide the light, hide the light infinite times. At this infinite level of hiddenness, Einoid Milvade, there's nothing else but him. And this is all we can perceive of God through our senses, our eyes, our ears, our nose. This is how we can perceive God, through our bodies. But we have a soul that's connected directly, right? Okay? We have to be able to prepare to teach people and bring them to this understanding of the oneness of God. It's so important because we know that there are religions that talk about God as in 3 parts. God is in 1,000, pantheon of thousands, all of these different things. There are some that believe that God and the devil are 2 separate entities. Like he gave, his name is Yosef Miller. He gave this example like I did about the 2 things. He said, he was talking to someone, he says, you've got a big problem on your hands now. Because now if the devil and God are 2 separate entities, now what are they in, right? What happens? You have now, God is no longer all powerful.
And people fear that Satan.
And they fear, right.
Right, like he would be out of God.
Yeah, Satan is in God just like we are. And he is a angel that does God's will exactly like God wants him to. He doesn't have an independent will of his own to do whatever he wants. God commands and he does. It's a part of the plan. So the whole point of this part of our conversation so far is that, again, the people of God contain the explanation. You cannot understand this book. If you were to walk someone through what I did, they would be like, wow, I never thought of it that way. Here I have my King James Bible, and I think that it's the divine, it's always been in English. This is how God spoke, right? In English. And
Ye and thou.
thou and thee and all of that. And people will you'll begin to shine the light, open their eyes to the fact that the only reason why they even have a translation is because of us. Because of us. It would not even exist if we didn't translate it for them, what they call the Septuagint. There was an evil king. I don't remember his name. It was before the Common Era. I don't remember how many years, but he got 70 Jewish scholars and forced them to translate the Torah into Greek. The rabbi said of that, the day that Torah was translated into Greek, darkness came into the world. Because it was a tzimtzum. It was a contraction. You put it into another language, and you give it to people without Torah Sheba'al Peh, it is a darkness and a confusion. And it can lead people completely astray, like we see all around us, around the world.
That's Babel, right? When God gives us the 70 language and nobody
Right.
can
Understand each other. And you know what I say sometimes? When you're talking to someone and they're like, I don't understand you, that's still the curse of Babel. You're talking the same language, you don't understand each other. It's Babel. I didn't understand you, it's Babel. Right? It's still there. Right? So God willing, we'll continue to increase on this idea. But really what I wanted to bring home today is a more detailed understanding of why the people. Why the people? Because the people have the book, and the people have the comprehension of what the book means. And because of that, we are able then to know who the book is talking about, who is God. You're able to make a pure connection because of this. So here, let me show you an example in closing. Here's an example of some things why. Here's the like one of the main examples that's always given about why you need Torah Sheba'al Peh. In the written Torah, it says, God says in Devarim 12:21, he says, Shecht, slaughter the animals as I have commanded you. Slaughter them like I told you to do it. You will not find that how I told you to do it anywhere in the written Torah. If someone said, okay, I'm going to shecht, I think I'll get a sword and chop off the heads of the animals. Right? They wouldn't know what to do. We have the understanding in Torah Sheba'al Peh. The people have this understanding. And that's probably one of the biggest examples. Another example is tefillin on the head and on the arm. How is it? Is it round? Do you like tie it like a bow, right? Or do you tie it down here? And it says between the eyes. What do? You like hang a string and like put it right before your eyes like this? What's the understanding of that? Huh? We only know by the revelation of Sinai that it's black. It has to be black. The strap has to come from a kosher animal. The box has to be completely square, perfectly square, a cube, perfectly cubed on there. It has to have a base. It looks like the base of Mikdash, basically, is what it looks like. Little base of Mikdash, though. It's like a lion laying down, the base of Mikdash. So anyway, it looks the one on the head has to have 4 distinct compartments. What do you put in it? What do you write it? How do you write it? How do you tie it? How do you put it on your head? What's the knot in the back supposed to be? Is there supposed to be a sheen here? How many times do you wrap it around your arm? Do you wrap it around your arm? The knot in the back, is it a sheen? Is it a dalet? What is it? What do you put on the sides of the boxes? Do you put a 5-pointed sheen on this side, or a 4-pointed sheen, or on this side a 3-pointed sheen? How do you do it? What do you do? You see, I'm really pushing this forward because no one could know what the Torah means if it wasn't for our rabbis and our sages that have preserved it and have kept it since God gave it to Moshe and Har Sinai, and that's why we can bring non-Jews close to their mitzvahs, the Sheva mitzvahs that we're going to get into, if God permits, Be'ezras Hashem, and how we're going to continue to talk about how tools and techniques of reaching out to people How do we relate to people? All of these things I think are important if we're really going to be lights to the nations. Thank you.